Hey Johnny, are you there? Hey Johnny, are you there, buddy? Hey, I can't hear you, buddy. Is your audio on? Uh, I can't hear you now. Okay. Ah, ah, call me.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
All right, Johnny Roastbeef Williams is in the house with the. You said a funny thing about the technology that we didn't record, and you should say it again because that was hysterical.
This I still don't know how to do all of this stuff with the technology. Like I'm on the computer, I'm on the phone. I have no idea what is working or what is not.
Yeah, I get that. Well, Johnny, thank you so much for talking with me for a half hour. I know you're busy, so I appreciate it, man.
You got it.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you because I know you from The Mask, which
Right.
is one of my favorite movies, and
Mm.
I thought you had the funniest line with the loner.
Yeah. Yeah. I was Chuck Russell directed us. It was, I mean, it was one of the first CGI movies on a big scale, New Line Cinema. And they did such a job with Jim Carrey, who was completely insane. I could tell you this.
Yeah.
After speaking to him for 30 or 40 seconds, you could see his eyes start to roll in a way that you know the man is not, he doesn't have all the marbles in the right basket. That's for sure.
I think all comedians like because Jim Carrey started as a stand-up, so I think all stand-up comedians are like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But he was, but it was great. It was great working with him. It was great working on that project. Chuck Russell was funny, when he went up to meet me. Um, Diane, what was the name? The casting director. she's from Brooklyn, so she calls me. She's Johnny. You got to go up and meet Chuck Russell. There's a great role in the movie. I want you to, go up there. He already knows about you. I says, yeah, all right. I'll meet him. And Fern Champion, she's from Brooklyn. She's great, Fern. She's my friend.
Yeah.
So I go up there, and he says, I want to put you on tape. And he never took the camera lid off the lens.
Right.
And I'm watching this, and I said, Chuck, you know what? Forget me being an actor in the movie. I want to be the cinematographer. I want to shoot the film like you're shooting right now. He said, what do you mean? I said, you got the cover on the camera. He said, oh.
Fucking technology.
Yeah, fucking technology. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you because, like, you did Goodfellas, and obviously, that's a type of movie where it's going to be a hit even before filming it. You know what I mean? And I wanted to
I don't
ask
know.
you. You didn't
It's
know
not
that?
that doesn't no.
Oh,
Well, I'll be honest with you, that was my first movie, and I didn't know the magic that we were creating on that film until after it came out. But I had nothing to compare it to.
right.
I worked at the same time. I worked a day outside on State of Grace with Sean Penn and Gary Oldman. I worked for Phil Joannou, and that was Orion Studio, and they went bankrupt just as the film was released, so it didn't get a widespread. Now it's being recognized as a terrific film, which it was.
Right.
But I didn't really understand the magic of Goodfellas. A matter of fact, the first time I was at the screening in Rockefeller Center in a screen that was 1/3 the size of your typical movie house screen. I didn't particularly care for it. I'll be honest with you.
Really?
When I saw it in the movie house, I saw it at our premiere.
Yeah.
Oh man, I said, "Oh my God."
Well, there's some movies that are like that, like because like I could watch a movie by itself and think, it's not very good, but if I see it in a theater, like The Hangover, that's a perfect example. I saw it by myself, I was like, yeah. I mean, it's just a comedy, but I saw it in the theater then with like some friends, and I was like, okay, this is actually really good.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you get to appreciate it on the big screen.
yeah. So, okay, so you didn't know Goodfellas was going to be a hit, obviously, because it was your first film.
Right.
Okay. But if it wasn't your first film, like when you read scripts and stuff, like, can you tell which films are going to do well by the magic now that you have experience under that, or were you still figuring that out?
Nah, I was still figuring that out because it's so elusive to get such an impactful, energetic, crazy, every element of storytelling on the screen that Scorsese has as a director. He's terrific. And that genre, he is so good at. He grew up in Little Italy in New York. He's so good at it that he brings a certain magic that sometimes it's very hard to capture.
Yeah.
And not too many people stumble into something like that in Hollywood. It's almost by mistake sometimes they make a great hit. I mean, if you look at the past films they had, I mean, they wanted Ronald Reagan to play Humphrey Bogart's part in Casablanca. Now, how could you think of Casablanca without Bogey, right? They wanted James Caan to play the part of Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So when you think of what Hollywood does and then what develops as a result of the casting and the magic that they create, it really is something that's elusive. You can't put your finger on it. And you could read all the scripts in the world.
Yeah.
The magic happens as it happens.
No, definitely. It also like, and I think you're right too, because like there's some people where like, for example, I write scripts and how I got trained to do it was like I would think of my favorite actors and put them in the characters. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to say yes to the project, but it helps me write it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the visualization will come to your imagination, to your creativity as you're writing the words. You want them spoken to by somebody that you would recognize that bring life to those words, because words on a page mean absolutely zero.
Yeah.
But in the context of being presented by a performance, it's the same thing with stage play. Stage play, the words are very, very important, but they have to be presented. So a lot of screenwriters, they write action words, whereas a lot of playwrights write words that they want to be actor proof.
Yeah,
You know?
because in a play, the words mean everything.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
and
yes.
you know, I mean, I've written a couple plays that weren't good, but I enjoy scripts because like I said, I like to visualize what
You
the
see
story.
them, yes,
Yeah,
you see them. That's exactly. It's a image genre. It's all about images and action. The words are descriptive, so there's a lot of verbs. There's, the adjective. You don't have to describe a chair. They're going to see it.
yeah. Now, when you get a script, because you know you have some stuff where you have like bit parts, and then you have some stuff where you have big parts. Do you read through the entire script, or do you just read your
I,
part?
I would read the entire script, and whenever I'm reading for the character that I'm going to play, I read the page of the script. I even read the dot after the page. That's how detailed I am,
Right.
because I want to make sure that whatever was written, I will present it in my own individual creative way. But I want to see if I could get the gist of what the writer had in his mind. Like you say, you have the images in your head.
Right.
So what happens is sometimes the director and the writer are on different pages, and
Yeah.
now the
They don't
performance has
like each other very much.
yeah, now the performance has to come in, and you're in the middle of this tug of war, And I've had that. I mean, I've had to read for a character, like one in particular time. I don't know, about 20 years ago. I had to read for a character that was this. He sold swag in the streets of New York. The guy,
Right.
and on the description, it had the opening when you first see him, the audience, he was overweight. So the bevel on the seat, he was on a director's chair sitting outside an OTB. So now I'm imaging, just as the writer, that you could see, his ass making the whole crease in the seat,
Right.
and the camera is coming up from his feet up, and he's sunning himself in front of an OTB, and he's got three chins. So it's funny,
Right.
to me it was funny. So, and I've lived that kind of life in New York with selling stuff off the street.
Right.
So I brought that little comedic flair to the guy when I read for a 29-year-old director. So when I left the room, my agent called me and she said, Johnny, and great agent that I had, he got the call from the casting director, which is Jane Jenkins and Janet Hershenson. These are two top studio Hollywood casting directors.
Yeah.
And so my agent said, Johnny, Jane Jenkins called and said that you were the only one that put a little bit of a comedic flair on the guy. And he says, I defended you because I know you're a New York guy and I know you know this character. I said, Tom, I did this. I used to go down to we called the Juketown on Orchard Street, and I used to buy clothes and sell it to all the wise guys in the neighborhood. And, I used to make a wardrobe out of the deal. And I did
Right.
this when I was 18, 19 years old. I had a Cadillac. I had the clothes all in the trunk of the car. I did this. I lived this life. I'm born and raised in New York City. So he says, I know that. Well, I got you back in to read for the director again. I said, okay. So before I went in the room, I said to the director, I said, his name was Michael Lehman, I think. I said, Michael, who is this character to you? And he
Yeah.
turns you around and he tells me, well, this guy, he could have your ankles broken. And in my head, I says, what? Are you kidding? This guy
Yeah.
has got to be a likable guy if he's going to be selling 1 week air conditioners, the next week sweaters, the next week, fans.
You
He's
gotta
not a
trust
guy.
your dealer.
Yeah, but he's not a guy like that. He's not selling drugs. He's not selling heroin. So I knew right away. I said, this is a 29-year-old kid that he has no clue of the reality of it. But I have to pass the test with him in order to get the job. So I went in and I took a little bit off the character, but I didn't sell out because I just can't. The windup was they one of the money deals fell through with the film, and they didn't do it for 3 years later, and they end up writing the character of Max out,
Yeah.
which was phenomenal because it was a great character. I had him all in my head of all the things I was going to do. I wouldn't do it at the audition because I'm not giving anything away either.
Right. Now, what's that like when like because I know that happens all the time. Like I've been cut of stuff too, and like the stuff I've done, I'm actually thankful I got cut. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
but like what's that like where like, you're just starting off, and then like you say your first time you got cut, you're like, well, what's this about? You know what I mean? Like
No,
how
I never, that never happened to me. I never got cut out of the film.
Oh, I thought you said you got cut out the story.
No, I didn't get the role because
Oh,
the
you did get
project,
the role.
no,
Oh,
the project itself went on a delay, and the project itself went on a delay. What the hell happened to this film? And 3 years later, they rewrote the script. The whole character was written out. So
oh, okay.
I never went back in, but I never got cut out of a part in a movie.
Yeah.
I don't care how small or how, I never got cut out.
Then I misunderstood then. But
Yeah, I never got cut out of the film. No, I'm pretty good at that.
knock on wood.
Yeah.
But so like what's easier for you to do, comedy or drama?
I could do whatever they want to do, but comedy, I'm very strong in comedy, very strong.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they cast me as the heavy, the gangster, and all that. It's fine, but I'm a comedy is I have the timing, and I'm just naturally comedic. I look at life in a comedic way, so that's who I am.
Have you ever done stand-up comedy? Because I get a sense that you've done something like that.
I've never done stand-up comedy as far as planning to do it and writing a stand-up act.
Yeah.
But when I first got to Hollywood 30 years ago, I was friends with a lot of comedians, and I used to go over to the Comedy Store and hang out with them. They were all manic depressives, by the way, every one of them. They
Yeah.
were ready for suicide. And I would go there with my crazy personality, and Mitzi, rest in peace, she had the Comedy Store, and she met me, and she told the MC to have me go up and do 3 minutes. 3 minutes of what? I have no idea. I don't have an act. So I went up there and I did 3 minutes of that day of all the aggravation I went through between the traffic and then them calling me to go. And I'm new in LA, and I threw the book away to Thomas guy. I don't know, whatever I did, the people were roaring. They were, So all the stand-up comics were so mad at me for being good,
because
even
you were a
though I'm
natural.
not a stand-up comic.
But see, you're a natural. Like you're naturally funny. So like that's good because I do stand up, and I think I'm great at it, but I'm a terrible actor.
Yeah, but it's funny that you match the two. But the truth is, a great comedian could be a great actor.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying, like there's the stereotype where comedians are terrible actors, but on the flip side, comedians are actually good actors. Like Jim Carrey, for example, funny comic, but he's actually a very good actor. If you saw like Spotless Mind or The
Right,
Truman Show,
right.
you know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
I'll give you one.
yeah.
He was called the greatest.
Oh,
Think about that.
John Cusack.
No, he was called the greatest. Jackie Gleason,
Oh, Jackie Gleason. Yeah, yeah,
the great one,
the great one.
the great one. He was terrific as an actor,
Yeah,
terrific. Minnesota Fats, and yet he was a funny guy, and he could do a show. He could do a stand-up. He could do 18 different characters.
yeah.
So comedians can twist that and turn that page into dramatic actors. It isn't such a if it's not such a great deal, but a dramatic actor
Can't turn it to
can't do
chaotic.
can't do stand-up comic
Oh no,
comedy.
yeah, not at all. I opened up for Jeremy Piven once, and I think he was a little upset because I was good and he wasn't that great. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And but I I think he's a fantastic actor.
yeah.
Comic wise, I think he's terrible.
I never saw his comedy routine, but
No, but I have a huge obsession with John Cusack. So I do all these John Cusack jokes, and then I go off stage and he comes up to me. He's like, "I didn't like the John Cusack jokes because, like, I guess they were."
yeah.
Like,
Listen, you know, in my opinion, in this life, if you take yourself too seriously,
you're failing.
you're dead. You're dead in the water. You should put your head in the nearest oven and make sure it's gas, because if it's electric, you're only going to singe your eyebrows.
Some people do need to singe their eyebrows, though.
Yeah, 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 it would be an improvement. Those are the same people that were wearing the masks in the car by themselves. They don't even want to look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah, I'm all up for like you know uh, being safe with the mask or whatever to respect society. But I agree with you. Driving in a car when you're by yourself, like,
Not going to make it. Sorry. Just not going to happen.
yeah, I was just like, I'm not gonna do that. I'll wear
No,
a mask at a grocery store and respect my people or whatever, but not when I'm driving to the grocery store.
not going to happen.
Oh man. Now I wanted to ask you, so good if Goodfellas was your first role, how intimidating was it to be around De Niro and Pesci and all that?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't get intimidated with anything.
Okay.
I'm too nuts to be intimidated. I grew up in East Harlem, New York. 10 years old, you went out to play a little stoop ball, and there was chances are you weren't going to return home.
Yeah.
So intimidation is not part of that equation. I hate to say it. It's the
I
same
like
thing
that
with the
though.
virus. When they told you with the virus, stay home and lock your doors, that wasn't going to happen because I'm not going to be intimidated by something I can't see.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, so how was it like working with them then? Like,
Oh, it's great. It was great. The one good thing that I learned in the 30 something years in show business is that the the higher the quality of people in the business that you work with, the easier it is, because they have so much confidence in what they do that they bring that same feeling to whatever scenes they're working with and whoever's in those scenes. They want the fellow performer to excel
Yeah.
like they are. They want that performance. They're not, the worst thing to do is when you go in a room and you know that the person that you're going to be, interacting with doesn't have the confidence that they are good. They just feel like they got lucky. And a lot of them did just get lucky. So when they come up with a real talent, it gets intimidating to them.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't get intimidated, not because I think I'm, the greatest, actor in the world, but I know that what I do is entertaining and it's interesting. So if the other person on the screen can't be in the same ballpark, that's not my problem.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not looking to upstage anybody. All I'm looking to do is do the job.
Yeah. I interviewed Larry Hankin a couple years ago, and he was telling me how he auditioned for Home Alone, and I guess Joe Pesci was at the read through, and he's like, because he was auditioning for the other robber, the one Daniel Stern played, and he said that, like, I like Larry, he's a good friend of mine, but he's like this, he's like, but Joe Pesci couldn't keep up with me, so they hired Daniel Stern. And he said it's so funny that he knew he couldn't keep up with Joe Pesci, but he turned it around, and I thought that was just really funny.
Yeah. Well, things like that do happen too.
Yeah.
Like you remember the movie Analyze This?
Yeah, Billy Crystal.
Okay. I was the first one to get the script for the role of Jelly.
Okay.
And I knew Ellen Chenoweth and I knew De Niro. And what happened was when Billy and De Niro chose to play the roles the way they did, in a buffoonish comedic type of choice, that left me out in the cold. And
Right.
so they hired Joe Vitarelli, which was a great casting job, because Vitarelli, he passed away too, rest in peace. Joe Vitarelli, when you see him, you want to hide your children.
Right.
You understand? You see me, the people want to bring their kids and say hello to the guy. You know?
They want to give you a hug.
Yeah. So I understood. I was disappointed, but I understood what happened there.
Yeah.
So these things creatively, they work in your favor, and then sometimes they work against you. So,
well, speaking of Billy Crystal, you worked with him on Forget Paris.
yeah, he directed me.
Yeah. So, like, what was that like? Because my favorite type of comedy is romantic comedy, and I thought Forget Paris was one of the best romantic comedies ever.
Yeah, it was a well written script.
Yeah.
Billy's good. Billy knows what he's doing. He's good. I knew Billy before that, and he let me work. I did 10 different choices on that conversation that I had with the cast there when they were asking about, and he ended up choosing the one that I improv.
Oh, nice.
That's the one he got. That was good.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that movie was about the NBA, because you did another movie about the NBA called Eddie, which was just as funny.
Oh, that was crazy. We shot that in Charlotte. At the time, the Hornets were in Charlotte. They used the Charlotte Coliseum for Madison Square Garden. That's what they did.
They?
Yeah. Oh. I was down there for a couple of weeks, and that was a Disney film. Rash.
Steve Rash.
Steve Rash was the director. Yeah.
So, like, Whoopi Goldberg, like, you were kind of like her sidekick in the stands type of thing. Yeah. Like, how nutty was that?
Yeah, it was good. Well, she said, "You funny." She told me. I said, "Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here." You know.
Yeah. But like Whoopi's another good example of someone who's funny, who's actually a great actress.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
And
absolutely.
like, oh my God. And then I wanted to ask you about honeymoon in Vegas.
Hey,
Yeah.
I had fun. I had fun doing that, boy. Uh, 3 months, 3 months working for Castle Rock. It was the greatest. I lived in Vegas for a month. I was losing my shirt. I was so far in advance of my pay that they were going, "You're going to owe us money for doing this movie." I says, "I know." Yeah, and Jimmy was great because Jimmy's a great actor. Rest in peace. He's my friend. He was my friend, and he I mean, we had so much fun together. You know, we had a chemistry before that
Yeah.
expressed itself. And then I worked with um, Billy Freakin, you know, who was lifetime achievement DP. I mean, he was so, and again, I'm doing the business. That was my third film. What do I know what I'm doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I know I'm
Oh
funny.
yeah.
And I would tell him, Billy, listen, I got brand new shoes. I don't know where I'm going to land. Johnny, I got you covered. And he would, I mean, he was so great. I mean, he never had an ego. He never had, and he would say, Johnny, you could do anything you want between that chair and that bar stool. After that, you'll be out of touch. Okay, Billy. I mean, just I worked with great people. These are people, lifetime achievement award. These are people that were terrific. I mean, how fortunate was I?
Right.
I I always look up and I say, wow, the stars are lined up for me. It was terrific, terrific.
Yeah. And but see, like I feel like when you work with people, it also improves how you act and how you do your thing. You know what I mean? Because you always take everything like an energy or something, and you're like, okay, this is good. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is an energy that's there, and and when you're gelling, it all works. It
Yeah.
all works. Things come and then things come out of you creatively that you didn't even realize. You didn't know you were going to do that, but at the moment, that's what happened. And it you know, like the part where I dipped the bread in the sauce. That wasn't in the script. But I saw the bread, I saw the sauce, I stopped and I dipped, and it was hysterical. It was a funny little bit that I did, you know.
Yeah.
So
How was the sauce?
the horrible, it was horrible. The same thing with the hot dogs in the Green Book. They were horrible. We were down in New Orleans when we shot that. I would have brought my own hot dogs. I would have made them myself, and I would, you know.
Now, have you ever worked with someone that you didn't gel with? And I mean, you don't have to say names, but do you have a story of where you didn't gel with them and
Yeah,
you're like,
there was. I did a guest star on a show, and I had to do one of the scenes was with another guest star, young girl, maybe early 20s, maybe 20, 21 years old, and she had to slap me in the scene. So I wanted to choreograph it with her. So I said, "Look, I said I'm going to give you the line the exact same way. When you hear me, I'm going to repeat the word really. I'm really, really sorry, your dad. I'm really, really sorry." On the second, really, that's when you could go.
right,
So let's rehearse it. So she rehearsed it one time. And then she wanted to go run and have coffee with one of the regulars on the show instead of hanging and working on our little action that we had to do.
the scene,
And
yeah.
so it ticked me off a little bit. And I said, oh, maybe she's got it. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. When we came back from the break, we're doing the scene, and I give her the line, really, really, and nothing happens. So now I continue, and boom, out of the blue, she gongs me in the back of the ear with the slap because I didn't know when it was coming.
Right.
And I got like this ring in my ear. So when the director cut, I said to her, I said, listen, you hit me like that again, I'm going to knock you out right here. You understand? She starts crying.
Right.
And she runs to one of the stars of the show, who happens to be a friend of mine.
Right.
So she complains to him that I made her cry. So he comes, he goes, Beef, what happened? I said, what happened? You better keep her away from me because I'm going to knock her out. I said, she wanted to go run and have coffee instead of working on the scene. And she gave me I'm still hearing the gong from the slap. Okay. So she thought she was going to get some help in that direction. She got it. The director came over to me. He says, Johnny, I'm so glad you yelled at her. She's been a pain in the ass the entire week that she's been on the show. So, okay.
Oh, oh my gosh.
I mean, it happens.
It
In
does
State of
happen.
Grace,
Yeah.
Gary Oldman hit me below my pads. Now they offered the stuntman for me, but
Right.
because I didn't have any film on myself, I said, no, I'll do the stunt. Don't worry, I'm good. So they padded me up, and when Gary kicked me, he kicked me below the pad. So it hurt a little bit. So when we took a break after that scene, I was by the fence by 11th Avenue by the Intrepid, looking at the Hudson River. And Gary came over to me and he says, Johnny, I'm sorry. I said, listen, just get away from me for now. Because right now, I want to kick you in your ass, just the way you kicked me.
Right.
Okay. And what a gentleman he was. He was really apologetic.
Yeah.
So then when we went back, I picked up my shirt and I said, Gary, here's where the pads are. You could go to work on it every way you want to do it. Right there, there's no problem. He said, all right, Johnny, but at least we worked on it.
Yeah.
And it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
But
It would be funny if, like, someone pisses you off, you just say, listen, let's just call it a day and start fresh tomorrow.
no, I can't do that. I don't have the power to do that. The director has to say that. I don't have the power to do that.
uh, that's always like my favorite. Like, I don't know, whenever people piss me off, I just say, listen, let's just not talk the rest of the day, start fresh tomorrow.
Yeah, well, uh, I haven't been. Well, I was in that position one time with a movie I did in Atlantic City, and I got pissed off at the production, and I told the producer, I said, "Listen, I'm going home. I don't feel like acting today." He said, "What?" I
Yeah.
said, "Well, my agent just called me. They told me that my guarantees weren't signed, and I can't work like that. I mean, I've been here, right? I missed a day. I did 2 weeks of rehearsal. We did this, that. Give me a minute. Give me a minute." And he walked away. And he got on his cell phone.
Yeah.
So I pulled a little bit of a diva thing. I'm not like that, but
No.
I had to do it.
Sometimes though, you have to stand your ground on certain things. You know what I mean?
Well, that's actually the way I felt very strongly about that. So straightened it right out. We had
Yeah.
no problem.
Because, like, I don't know if I told you, but I do stand up,
Yeah.
and I'm not a headliner. Like, I can't do 45 minutes to an hour every night. I could do it every now and then, but I can't do it, multiple sets in a night.
Right.
I'm comfortable with the 20, 30-minute slot. And I remember one time they wanted me to do an hour on a late show, because the head guy who headlined the first show, he was sick or whatever. And I was like, I want more money if I'm doing that, because this crowd sucks.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, like, you got to stand your ground on that. So where did the nickname Roastbeef come from? Because that seems to be something that's followed you in this career path.
Yeah, well, I was Johnny Roastbeef from the neighborhood because I had two delis in Manhattan. So
Nice.
in my neighborhood, everybody's named after their father, their uncle, their grandfather. So there's always has to be a distinction, and that's why the nicknames come up.
Right.
There's always a nickname to kind of distinguish you from your father, from your brother, or from your uncle. Because everybody, Italians, they named their children after the, and then their grandfathers named the same name. So you got Nick, and Nick. Who Nick?
Yeah.
You understand? So
No, I get it.
Fellas, Peter and Mary, and Marie, Peter, Paul, Marie, they're all the same.
Yeah. It's like a guy has a Nick, and Nick, like you said, but one guy says his name is spelled Nik, not Nick. So it's
Right.
Nick.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's still Nick.
I wanted to ask you, like, what's a big positive thing you go to whenever you get a job? Like, what do you look forward to when you film something, or even if you're doing a stage play? Like, what's the thing you look forward to?
Well, a play. I bring to a play a lot of my life's experiences in the character. Um, I I look to give the character a lot of depth, where he came from, where he's going, what he thinks about himself, what he thinks about the other characters in such a unique and individual way, because I had such a rich life to draw from.
Right.
This type of experience in life, to make it authentic and real on that stage. And the people, I feel, have a much more tangible connection with the character, that they get lost in it. And that's what the magic is that the people are watching and believing what you're presenting. And that's the authenticity that comes through. Now, in a film, that authenticity has to come through the camera, which is a machine. It's not a person.
Right.
So the director has to get that performance when he's filming you. So there's a lot of interpretations in between the actual performance and the finished product. So these are things that you have to work on. I feel in a film, I try to have a relationship with my co-stars or my fellow actors in the scene before we even go on camera, so that we're coming
There's
from
more chemistry. Yeah.
Yes, we're coming from a base of reality, of authenticity, how I feel about them as an individual, that I could draw upon, that when I do the scene, that could come through for the camera to capture. Because the camera will capture any lie you have. It's going to capture that lie.
Yeah.
Anything fake, anything not real, it's going to capture. So to work on that, you have to work with your fellow actors. And sometimes in a film where I'm doing a week or a couple of days or 2 weeks, and I have to interact with the star of the film, who's on camera 45 minutes to an hour of the film, who's the whole film hinges upon the performance. Sometimes it's not as easy to do what I do, to get that interchanging action before we work. So sometimes you have to trick a performance out of them. You kind of, you do something in rehearsal that you never did, and when the camera rolls, you do something opposite, and it shakes them into the performance.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. You got to have like chemistry with your co-stars in the scene, because if you don't have chemistry, it's just not going to work. You could film it 1,000 times, but it's just not going to come out smooth. I mean, I did this movie called Magic 8 or something like that, and it was a romantic comedy where this guy talks to a girl and he gets people to fall in love with him or whatever. And then I played the best friend, so the power went to me. So at the end, I talked to a girl, and she falls in love with me and we kiss, right? And I just had no chemistry with this girl whatsoever, where the kissing scene was awkward and stuff, and then it made me think the entire movie must have been very awkward. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I'll tell you something else. I'll give you an example. I did a movie called Skateboard Kids, and
right,
I played a tow truck driver that was towing the father of these two young children, towing his car away. So I got the tow truck. I made my beard grow like a real overgrowth. I put black on my teeth. I was chomping on a cigar, and I had this like, you know, and the kids, they were trying to talk to me on the set, and I made them overhear me telling another actor, "I hate working with kids. I like to boil them in oil." And the kids heard it, they ran away from me. So that's the trick I use to get them not to like me,
right,
so that when we're doing the scene, that would carry into the scene.
yeah,
So of course, when the scene came and get away from that car, I had this ugly face on me, and the kids were like so frightened that they came to get away. I said, "Get away! I'm there. You're gonna listen to me, or do I have to get ugly?" And the little girl goes, "That already happened." So, she had a good line. And then when we finished, I went over to the kids to say, "Great job." They were still frightened. And then all of a sudden, you could see that they eased themselves right up. But that's the little trick that I have, that I use. Don't ask me how I know that, but
right.
I know to do that, and I do it with adult actors too. I do it with one guy. He was so bad, and he was the star of I did a movie of the week. He was so bad. He was starting out at 100 miles an hour, and every time we rehearsed, I says, "Boy, this guy is really over the top." But I couldn't tell him anything. This guy's the star. So during the rehearsal, I was doing it one way. I was doing the line one way. I was giving him the line, and he's yelling and screaming. So when we went to shoot it in the camera, instead of giving him that line, I gave the line to the other guy playing my brother, playing his brother,
Oh,
and so it was like when a father yells at a kid and the kid's not paying attention, then he yells louder. So
right.
when he yelled, it worked because he was so over the top that when I gave the line to the other guy, he went like, "I'm like, are you listening to me?" It was great.
Now, Johnny, I want to respect your time, but I do have two more questions for you. Question number one, uh, what's one type of movie that you haven't done that like you wish you could do, or that you would like to do in your lifetime?
I got to be honest with you. I have done a little of everything, and I just want to do quality work. I don't have anything that would stand out, to answer that question honestly, that I haven't done. I've done, I just like quality work. The guy next door, the uncle that the girl hasn't seen. Uh, I'd love to play a grandfather, uh, that maybe, there's a little difficulty, almost like when Nothing in Common, like Jackie Gleason and Tom Hanks, a role like that.
Right.
Because I could really, really get into something like that.
Yeah. What if you played the grandfather, right? Because I'm just thinking of a good character that we could, because I'm writing a movie in our head for us. You know what I mean? And you said you wanted to be a grandfather, so you could be a grandfather. But what if you're the type of grandfather that just like is so funny that he doesn't talk, like he just walks around and it's just hilarious because the energy is there. You know
That's
what
funny. That's funny.
I
It's
mean?
funny.
Like he walks around with a cup of coffee, he's just drinking it, like
Yeah, you can make it happen. You can make it happen. Despite sometimes a look will tell the whole story.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Have you ever done a Western though? Because like I think you would be great at that.
No, I've never done a Western. I did. I played a cowboy in a commercial, but
Yeah.
it was comedy, of course, for Minute Maid, and the gist of it was like the Minute Maid guy was supposed to be an orange, and he was in the audition. He was worried about playing an orange, and I'm dressed up like a cowboy. And he said, "Well, look at me. I'm a nice cowboy. Don't you get it, partner?" You know, it was funny because you see me dressed as a cowboy, you're not buying that, you know.
I would buy it. I would think you're a great cowboy.
Funny, funny.
I'll let you grow the beard, and you could like be the sheriff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can't give me a horse because the horse union will quit.
And now my last question for you is, Johnny Roastbeef Williams, if you could go in a time machine and go back in time and talk to a younger Johnny Roastbeef Williams, it could be from yesterday, could be from 20 years ago, what would you tell him that you know now to say, hey, it's going to be okay?
Uh, well, I I would love to talk to Jackie Gleason.
Yeah.
Real New York guy. A lot of things that we both have in common. The way we were brought up, and I just would love to hear his take on where the turning point came in his life, to go into the arts to be a performer.
Okay, but what would you say to yourself though, like the younger Johnny Roastbeef Williams?
Oh, I've been talking to myself forever. I even talk to myself now. I just don't believe the stuff that happens every day. I look forward to every day because it's another mystery that is going to unfold for me. I mean, you know, it's almost I'm so boring that I entertain myself.
I don't think you're boring. I think you're great.
Uh,
I thought you were going to say, "Oh, I'd go back 3 weeks ago and I'd tell myself not to do this podcast."
no. I was looking forward to it. I think you're a very talented interviewer,
Oh,
and I could see you could be be a good stand-up comic.
oh, well, thank you.
And you take your work seriously. That's great.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Listen,
I was just making a
I
joke to
like
make
the
you
fact
laugh.
that if there's one thing here that we did in this crazy, you want to call it nonsense, it's fine. But if there's one thing here that you got out of this, that's one more thing that I did as an artist that I shared with you, which is my responsibility. That having the talent is not the point. The
Yeah,
point is sharing the talent and
yeah.
being able to share it with people that you can actually help, even though you don't know you're helping them.
No, that's 100% true. That's why I have a podcast, because there's I feel I help people with stand up, because for 15, 20 minutes I take away their problems. But with the podcast, if I tell jokes and interview people and find out their stories, and like I know I made you smile today. So
Yes,
like, you know what I mean? I know for that instance, I made your life better in that moment. So like
absolutely.
that's the power of it. You know what I mean?
Yes, yep, yep. And the sense of power that you're speaking of at this point, at this moment, I get that when I do stage.
Yeah.
The people listen, they watch, and you could hear them react. And that is powerful. That is very powerful.
Well, let
When
me
they
know.
laugh, when they cry, when they sigh, that is powerful stuff.
Well, email me next time you're doing something on the stage. I'll come support you.
Okay.
I'll buy a ticket and support my good pal, Johnny Roastbeef Williams. Where can the folks at home follow and support you at?
JohnnyRoastbeef.com. I have a little line of T-shirts with my picture and my signature. I have hats. So if they want to shop on there, that would be great. And I also have a pilot for a sitcom. I have a trailer. It's called Mama, MAMA, and AND, son.com. And they could view a little 2-minute trailer based on a restaurant that I kind of grew up in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very funny. And I'm trying to sell that right now. And they might get entertained with that.
All right. Well, Johnny, thank you so much for talking to me today. It was the highlight of my day, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, have a great day, buddy, and I'll see you when you do something on stage. I'll be there with flowers and everything.
Thank you.
Stay well. Bye, Johnny. Have a great day, buddy.
Stay well.
All right, guys. That was my interview with Johnny Roastbeef Williams. Subscribe, rate, review, and support Johnny. And we'll see you guys next week.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.